Hello? No, we do not. Yes. Cool. Okay. I love you too. Bye. How's it going? We are day 312 here in the vlog, and today, just to warn you, is going to be just me talking about our passage for today. We are covering the entire book of James. It becomes tricky when covering a book like James because, once again, there's so much good content, but then I'm also grateful for this style of us going through God's Word because you really do get that broader perspective. And before I kind of share with you what I think that broader perspective is with the book of James, here's just some really important things to note about James in terms of the historicity of the letter and just some facts regarding this writing. The book of James is believed to be possibly one of the earliest of the New Testament writings, as it is composed most likely between AD 40 and AD 50. And the book is believed to have been written by Jesus' brother, James, and we deduce this by looking at Galatians chapter 1, verse 19. As James is writing this, he's writing this specifically to the 12 tribes in the dispersion. So to those who are Jews, but who believe in Jesus Christ and are being dispersed and scattered throughout the Roman Empire due to the persecution that the church was facing, which we had been reading in the book of Acts. Reading over the entire book of James just caused me to notice something that I hope isn't too much of a stretch to take away from the book, but I think really encapsulates well an entire book in just a few minutes. When we look at chapter 2, verses 14 through 26, I think it really is the apex of the book in the sense of talking about the relationship between faith and works. Some people get so fixated on it's works, it's what you do, and then you can have people on the other extreme that it's all faith and works are almost this like enemy or this bad thing. And James makes it very clear that they work together, and I think what is important here with James is not necessarily that you have belief, well, you should have belief, but it's important to note and to make sure that you have the right kind of belief. Because it talks about there that even the demons believe, and they shudder, they tremble, they're fearful of God, but they don't believe in such a way that leads unto salvation and unto good works, as it talks about in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. So we have to ask ourselves the question, do we have the right kind of belief? I think the way we answer that question is with the rest of the book of James. And when we read about the things that James is encouraging the 12 tribes to do as they're being dispersed due to the persecution, that those are a byproduct, that is fruit born of having the right type of belief. He talks a lot about enduring suffering, enduring hard times, and being steadfast and remaining faithful to God in the midst of those difficult times. We see him that those who have the right type of belief, that they not only will just hear God's word, they will not only hear truth, but they will respond to it. They will actually walk in it. Not showing partiality to people and making sure that one is keeping our words and our tongue under control, that we're not using it as an unruly evil. Remaining humble and not growing prideful, and being near and intimate with God. You know, you could read, the entire book of James and see way more things that are products of this right type of belief. But I think what's really important for us to talk about is often we go after those actions, we go after those steps, and sometimes we think that once I can nail that down, then God's going to be good with me. There are two key doctrines when it comes to the Christian faith. There's justification and then sanctification. They are in that order. We are justified, and when we are justified by the blood of Christ, then the process of sanctification begins, which is us being made holy, being made in the image of God. But sometimes we like to change the process. We feel like we have to attain some level of holiness on our own, and then that'll make us right before God. And that isn't just not true. I think James shows us that it starts with having that right belief. And when we have that right belief, that work of sanctification will begin in us. And while we will by no means be perfect in our actions, especially the things that we read in the book of James, I think you'll see growth, that you'll see progress in holiness in those things. And that is the correct indicator for having the right kind of belief. So just to wrap things up here, I ask you that question. Do you have the right kind of belief in Jesus Christ?